My name is Michael Wotorson, as was stated earlier, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Campaign for High School Equity. I am here this morning not only representing the Civil Rights Coalition that comprises our organization. I'm here to speak on behalf of the over 18 million young people, students of color enrolled in public elementary and high schools in the U.S. I'm also here on behalf of the over 1 million kids who choose to drop out of high school each year, often making that choice because they're forced to contend with ineffective instruction, low academic standards, not aligned to college and career readiness, and poor access to educational resources. So my remarks today are going to be focused on the kinds of supports that high school students, particularly students of color and Native students, need to graduate prepared for college, work, and life. The reauthorization of ESEA presents a historic opportunity to build upon the promise and the achievements of the 2002 reauthorization known as No Child Left Behind, while remedying the defects that have limited the law's effectiveness in eliminating educational inequities. To be sure, NCLB was a step forward. It greatly enhanced the potential for conditions preventing students of color to achieve to be removed, to be unhidden, particularly as faced by ethnic minorities, language minorities, low-income students, and students with disabilities. As a direct result of that 2002 legislation, the discussion and the notion of school accountability is much more widely accepted, and important attention is being paid to addressing achievement gaps, enhancing college and career readiness, and strengthening high school graduation rates for all students. If we intend to improve America's schools, ESEA needs to be strengthened in many ways. For CHSE, this means expanding the focus on how we address the unique needs of high school students of color, Native students, and English language learners. The pervasive and persistent inequities in our public education system put students of color at a disproportionate disadvantage as they continue to attend highly segregated schools, despite the decades-old Brown v. Board ruling. To ensure access to equal educational opportunities and to reverse the graduation crisis among students of color, our system of education must challenge all students to meet the same high academic expectations. Indeed, in 2008, an American Council on Education report revealed that, counter to earlier trends, far too many of today's young Americans are realizing lower levels of educational attainment than in previous generations. In years past, our economy allowed high school students to find meaningful employment without the requirement of significant education and training beyond high school. Today, in the increasingly global economy, there is a demand that American students are prepared to compete with students from around the world. Unfortunately, most of our high school students do not measure up to their international peers. It is critical, therefore, that as a society, we provide students with high caliber, relevant academic coursework to adequately prepare them for the increasingly international post-high school reality of college and work. Students who attend college without having mastered basic skills cost our nation over $2 billion a year in remediation costs. Additionally, many employers today lament that high school graduates often do not have the skills necessary to be successful in the workplace. Clearly, we need to restore the value of the high school diploma. To do so, we must align state academic standards to college and work readiness so that our nation's graduates leave high school prepared to be highly skilled employees and leaders of tomorrow. At CHSE, we believe that the American education policy should prepare all students for this reality. And to do so, we believe ESEA should aim high and address critical needs of high school students through the following suggestions. Number one, make all students proficient and prepared for college and work. We should guarantee as a minimum threshold that all students have access to rigorous and engaging coursework in core subjects. Number two, hold high schools accountable for student success. It is imperative that we hold high schools accountable for getting students successfully through to graduation by including meaningful graduation rates in federal school accountability standards. We should also improve data systems as a critical component of a strong accountability system. As we all know, making decisions without the benefit of fully disaggregated data ignores the unique needs of students of color and ill-prepares school administrators to allocate resources based on student and teacher need. For example, without fully disaggregated data, the needs of whole segments of Asian American and Pacific Islander populations are often neglected, and as a result, entire groups of kids end up falling through the cracks. Number three, fundamentally redesign the American high school. In order to address students' diverse needs, states and districts must provide their schools with the means to explore and implement new educational models, as well as other effective interventions such as literacy programs, personal graduation plans, and extended learning time. Number four, provide students with excellent leaders and teachers. The federal government can support programs that establish incentives to recruit, train, support, and retain effective leaders and teachers in high-poverty high schools. Number 5, invest communities in student success. The school environment is critical to student success, but we also know it's not the only factor that impacts a secondary school student's academic and social outcomes. Families and communities also play key roles. Number 6, provide equitable learning conditions for all students. Persistent disparities in the allocation of key education resources often bar low-income and minority students from receiving a high-quality education that they so richly deserve. So resources must be distributed equitably, used effectively, and directed where they are needed the most. I just want to say 2 quick things about our specific recommendations, or actually 3 quick things about our recommendation. I'm happy to answer questions later. Number 1, our policy should invest in interventions that work. Number 3, our policy should adopt effective teaching policy strategies and make sure they are distributed equitably. And number 3, we should make sure that we do, in fact, improve data systems for all students. Thank you very much.